Hello, everybody. Welcome into the GSMC Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus, today joined by Mehrob here. We are going to break down everything you need to know about the NBA Finals, the two blockbuster trades that took place over the last couple of days in two different sports. The Red Sox trading away Rafael Devers and the Magic trading for Desmond Bane. We'll talk about that as well as much more, but before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. We'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with us here on a beautiful Monday, June 16th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the NBA Finals here. Game 5, a pivotal Game 5 here, one that the winner of wins 80% of the series in this situation. Game 4 was just weird. It was a good game, but it was just kind of a weird game. The scripts got flipped for both of these teams. We saw a Thunder comeback in this one. We saw Shea step up huge in that fourth quarter, and now they're back at home. They're favored again. I was looking at the odds, and we talked about this heading into Game 4. Minus 405 is crazy. That is crazy for OKC. Minus 9.5 is a lot of points as well. They were kind of right on the money last time in Game 4. Mehrob, tell me a little bit about this game, because it could really go either way with these two teams with how back and forth it's been so far.
Yeah, this has been a crazy series. We saw the first two games. It looked like the Thunder were in the driver's seat for the most part. Thunder getting out to early leads, taking control of the game. Of course, Game 1, the Pacers ending up coming back and stealing that one. But it's kind of been the script been flipped since it's been in Indiana. Game 3, the Indiana Pacers take control early on and finish that game. Game 4, similar situations. Pacers jump out to an early lead. But this time, it was the Thunder that actually came back late in the game. It was the play of SGA. It was the play of Jalen Williams that was phenomenal. Chet Holmgren with 14 points and 15 rebounds. If the Thunder want to have any chance of winning Game 5 tonight, and I'm picking them as well. They're at home. This is a crucial Game 5, and I think home court advantage is going to be that much more important in this pivotal game. I'm rolling with the Thunder. I think SGA is going to have another monster game. I think Jalen Williams is going to continue to build on what he has so far in this series. He's had 19, 20, 25, and then 27 points in Game 4. That has literally been the stat line from Game 1 to Game 4. I expect him to continue to build on that, to build on his experience. He looks like he's kind of easing into the pressure, or not easing into the pressure, but kind of just getting used to everything, the atmosphere of the NBA Finals. And I think this is the game for the Thunder, and they're going to take a 3-2 lead going back to Indiana.
Yeah, you talk about J-Dub, and we've talked a lot about this punch-counterpunch kind of theme in this series. The big counterpunch for Mark Dagnall and the Thunder in Game 4 was J-Dub. He was the primary ball handler for a lot of that game, bringing the ball up in quarters 1, 2, and a little bit of 3 as well, so that you could save more energy for Shea on the back end. He's not tired. You see what that does, a Shea explosion in the fourth quarter when he is back to being that primary ball handler. You also saw a lot of ball screens from Shea to free up some space on that pick and roll, as opposed to him being the guy with the ball in those screening situations. So it was a lot of off-ball stuff. The punch-counterpunch before had been that high-pressure defense with Nembhard, with Mathurin, with guys coming off of that Pacers bench to step up against Shea, and it worked. It did. He still dropped 35 after a crazy fourth quarter. What is the counterpunch for the Pacers right now? It doesn't feel like there's any obvious solution here, but they're going to have one if they don't want to drop 2 games in a row here in a crucial Game 5.
I feel like they found a little bit of a formula there, Jeremy. Especially, and you brought it up perfectly. Benedict Mathurin having a massive game three, and he was crucial. Obi Toppin's been crucial in this series. We've seen TJ McConnell step up in big time situations. Andrew Nemhard's played phenomenal defense on SGA for most of these last two games. I say most because of that fourth quarter explosion out of SGA, and that ended up leading to the comeback. But I think for the Pacers, I think you need to just kind of erase the last 5 minutes of game four because for the most part, that 30 minutes, 35 minutes that they played in game four, they played phenomenally. They played it to a T. They were rebounding well, they were playing good defense, they were making shots. It was just that last 5 minutes, that last fourth quarter, where they just went ice cold. 5 of 18 from the field, missing all of their threes in the last 9 minutes of the game. Overall, it was just they couldn't make their shots. And on the other side, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder that were SGA, like I said, that poured it on late in that game, having 8 to 10 points in the last 9 minutes of the game. That was the recipe for the Thunder. And that's why I say game four was so crucial. When I was watching that game, I was hell bent that this series was a 3-1 series going back to OKC. And the fact that the Thunder were able to flip the script like that so quickly, I think it was a season. It was just season changing. It's complete. It just flips the script. It flips the whole series on its head.
Yeah, you talk about changing the outcome of it. That game really did feel like the way that the Pacers wanted to play, the way that the Pacers wanted to win that game. But like you said, it was bad shooting, which is part of why that game is weird because the Pacers have been just an incredible shooting team all playoffs long. It wasn't just the Pacers that couldn't make a shot. It was also the Thunder. They made 3 threes, 3 for 17 in that game. That is not a stat line that you genuinely that you would ever expect to win a game, especially an NBA Finals game against such a high-powered offense. Water's going to find its level. Both of these teams probably going to shoot better, but how much was that on the defense, and how much was it that they were just missing shots in that game? Because it definitely was a little bit of both.
Definitely a little bit of both. And when we're talking about the defense on the Thunder, we can't talk about defense and not mention Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso has been phenomenal in this series. We saw in game 3 was TJ McConnell with 5 steals. What does Alex Caruso do on the other side? He says, "Well, you can do, TJ. I can do better." Comes out in game 4 and has 5 steals of his own. 20 points. He's had 3 20-point games. The first player in NBA history to have 0 20-point games in the regular season and then have multiple in the finals. It is crazy to see how much of an X factor Alex Caruso has been for his Oklahoma City team, and I expect him. I think it's just a battle between those two guys, and Caruso and Nemhard. Who's going to get the better of SGA and Halliburton? Because those are the two titans on the defensive end for these two teams. Outside of that, I'm looking at the double big. I feel like I've mentioned it a bunch in this series, but that has been such a crucial X factor throughout this series. Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. We saw game 4. Chet Holmgren had a double-double. I'm looking at Pascal Siakam to have a little bit of a bounce-back game tonight. He had a little quieter game, only 20 points in game 4. I expect him to have a bigger bounce-back game in game 5. And Miles Turner, stay out of foul trouble, man. Five fouls with 5 minutes left to go in the game. The second the Thunder saw that, they just started attacking him. And that is simple, little, easy mistakes that sometimes go unnoticed, but can be the difference in a series like this.
Yeah, and you bring up the other two stars of the Pacers in Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner, and they have both had not the greatest series so far. These are both guys that you look at and you expect more out of. Miles Turner especially. You talk about foul trouble, but also he just hasn't shot the ball well. He's made a lot of big impact plays defensively. Siakam is a guy that is kind of their go-to offensively. Tyrese Halliburton struggles to create his own shot. We've seen it a lot in this series. He struggles a lot, but he's great on that pick and roll action, getting open when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. But Siakam is a guy that you can just give him the ball and he can make a shot. He can find his spots. He hasn't really been doing that much in these finals. That's something that I think is waiting for the Pacers for them to take that next gear, that next step up. But that Thunder defense is swarming. It's hard, which is why they haven't been able to get there. Going back to OKC, it really is a tough environment. They were able to take game one over there. Game two did not go their way, but you also have to see they haven't lost back to back games all playoffs long. They haven't lost back to back games since March. It's been a long time for this team to have lost back to back games. So if there's any team out there that can deal with that Thunder crowd, that Thunder noise, and take them out of it, especially with an offensive run like that Pacers team can do, it is them. They have a real shot in this, which is why, getting back to where we were very early on in our conversation about this, why is everyone so certain that the Thunder are going to roll here by nearly 10 points too? That's the biggest spread that there's been in this series so far. It doesn't make any sense to me because there's always that counterpunch. I just don't see I just don't see that big difference between these two teams. It feels like everyone is just doubting the Pacers again. How far off am I in your estimation?
I don't think you're far off at all. I think to start off, to explain a little bit of that reasoning, to play a little bit of devil's advocate for the betting sports books, I think a lot of people think that the last 5 minutes of that game four, the way that the Thunder were able to come together and come back and win this game, led by SGA, I think they're going to continue to build on that in game five, especially on their home court. They have the Pacers reeling a little bit. They're going to try and build off that and kind of explode off that momentum and take this game five. That's the only reason I can think of the spread being 10.5. I'm right there with you. I think that is a crazy spread. And if I'm not a betting fan personally, but if there's anybody that is, take the spread against. That's my humble opinion. Just take the plus 10.5. You're making easy money. But outside of that, I think tonight is going to be a very close game. I would not be shocked if we're going into the fourth quarter in a 3-4 point game, because I think the Pacers are going to stick right with them tonight. I think the Pacers it's going to be similar to game one, not with the deficit that the Pacers were in game one, but I think it's going to be the same feel with the Pacers just hanging around, keeping right up with the Thunder within 5 to 7 points. And then it sparks within the last 5 minutes, and we're looking at a back and forth game going SGA and Tyrese Halliburton going shot for shot late in this game. I think Tyrese Halliburton's going to have a big game in this one. He's had a little bit of a quiet last couple games. I know he had a good game 3, but game 4 he only had 18 points with 7 assists. I expect him to have a little bit of a bounce back game. And I think it's going to be a very close game. Whoever can shoot better in the clutch, whoever can play better defense in the clutch moments of this game is going to come out with the win. I don't think that's just my take on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has come down to the clutch a lot in this series. I'm sticking with the Thunder, though. I know that we talked about all these stats for it. Not gambling advice, of course, here. Never gambling advice from us. So take everything we say with just a little bit of a hint, a grain of salt there. But I'm rolling with the Thunder in this one. I think that home crowd, that home atmosphere is just going to be way too much for that Pacers team to deal with. I do think they're going to have some kind of counterpunch. I think they're going to make those adjustments, put a lot of pressure on J-Dub, especially because he's someone that can turn the ball over a lot. He has some turnover issues when he's the primary ball handler. That's something that they can expose, especially early on. Maybe try to build a big lead, and as long as their shots are falling, if it goes the same way as Game 4, there's a real chance in Game 5 the Pacers can pull the upset. I'm sticking with the Thunder, though. Mehrob, what are your thoughts here? You've got the last word.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jeremy. Expect a great game. Expect fireworks. Expect two teams that are going to go all out to win this game, because at the end of the day, 80% of teams that win Game 5 end up winning the series. And this is an NBA Finals. This is between two teams that haven't sniffed this type of success in their entire careers. The last time the Pacers... never mind careers, the last time this franchise in the Indiana Pacers were in the finals was 25 years ago in 2000. So that arena is going to be rocking. These two teams are going to be ready to go. Rick Carlisle will have his team ready to go to have a bounce back game. Expect a very close game, and I'm rolling with the Thunder as well with a 2 to 3 point win. A very close game.
That's right. We both got the Thunder here. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, though. In the comments, who do you have in this game? who's your X factor in this one as well. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we continue to talk about basketball. The big news from yesterday, Desmond Bane on to a new team for a very steep price. We'll talk about that Orlando Magic Memphis Grizzlies trade, break down every single angle, what's next for the Grizzlies, what's next for the Magic as well, coming up next here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.